San Diego County is the latest place in California considering a fight against the state's sanctuary law. This is President Trump praises Orange County's board for joining a federal lawsuit against the state law, but California's Attorney General saying he'll arrest anybody who disobeys it. Orange County Vice Chair Shawn Nelson joins us now. Mr. Nelson, are you worried about getting arrested?
Not at all, but I suppose having never been arrested, it'd be a little sporty, but no, that's not something I'm concerned about.
Well, you're taking it in good cheer, but it does put county officials who oppose the sanctuary law in a very difficult position. Who do you obey, the federal government or the state government?
Well, the good news for our sheriff's personnel is our sheriff has made it clear they are going to follow the law. She was able to sort of outsmart the legislature.
I'm sorry, follow which law, the state law or the federal law?
Well, right now the state law, because of course there are sworn peace officers in the state of California. The reason we're standing up for them and fighting is because they're put in a predicament and they're being asked to ignore federal officials who rightfully they need to communicate with. That's what this fight's all about.
But Mr. Nelson, you know, it's more than just, I mean, we can laugh about it. There are some extraordinarily crazy things about this, but there are real consequences, and the main one being are dangerous criminals being let out on the street by this state sanctuary law.
100%, and I have the data to prove it. Opponents want to claim that that's not happening, but those are just not the facts, and it's not too difficult to prove otherwise.
Well, isn't your primary responsibility, the primary responsibility of any government official, to protect the citizens? And if a law is interfering with the protection of citizens, it's clearly a bad law, if not something that should just be thrown off the books.
Well, it's not only a bad law. In this case, it's unconstitutional to prevent law enforcement officers from appropriately communicating with the right federal authorities on immigration.
So why are you following an unconstitutional law?
Well, for right now, what we're doing is the sheriff has a workaround, but the challenge that we're in is, our deputies, are the working men and women, and the last thing I need for Officer Smith is have them suspended. We've chosen to file a lawsuit and join the federal government so we can clear this up and not put these people in the pickle that they're already in.
You know, I always like to bring it back to the real world, and there was a very real world example of how dangerous all this is in Sacramento. This vile cop killer who was convicted of killing a cop, and he made a pledge in the courtroom with a smirk on his face that he was going to break out and kill more if he could. There's the person. I won't even mention his name. He doesn't deserve it to be mentioned. But would the California law, I mean, he is an illegal alien. And would the California law actually give sanctuary to somebody like that?
Well, they would when he's arrested. What the California law does, and if you listen to the opponents carefully, they try and hide behind it. When he's arrested, here's our problem. If you get arrested on real serious charges, but you bail out, you're not yet convicted. California wants to only deal with convicted people. A lot of people are about to be convicted, but if they make bail, which is our problem, who's more likely to never show up for court again for a serious felony? Someone that just bailed out. And those are the people I'm most concerned about. But California also made a lot of felonies misdemeanors a few years ago, and that's a whole nother set of problems.
We only have 30 seconds, but I'm just wondering how far you think the Attorney General, Becerra, your state Attorney General, is willing to go to defend his law. If he loses in the courts, would he defy the courts?
That's a great question. I think he represents a group of government officials in this state that would rather that the state have to follow no federal rules. And if they could let all the criminals out that are aliens just to prove a point, I suspect they would. It's ridiculous, and it's putting people in danger. And someone had to stand up, and that's why we got involved.
Shawn Nelson, we thank you very much for coming on. Good luck to you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, coming up,